Hello everyone, thank you for coming. My name is Ramil, I'm Senior Platform Engineer at Electrolux, it's home appliance manufacturer. And I have 15 years of experience in industry as an automation engineer, as a software engineer, and now as a platform engineer. So I joined Electrolux 6 years ago, and I was at the regions of the IoT platform development.
I also joined the Electrolux about the same time as Ramil, but as SRE, not as a developer. So I have roughly 20 years experience in the industry. Started with development and later on switched to SRE when I joined the Electrolux. And then probably 2 years ago, starting to move into more about platforms.
Okay, so what is the IoT platform? IoT platform connects home appliances and allows customers to control their appliances from the mobile application. But our platform provides not only simple appliance control, but also other customer-oriented features, like, for example, assisted cooking. It's an AI-driven assistant that takes a link from the internet with a recipe, analyzes it, and selects the most optimal cooking settings for you.
Yeah, and to really support a good consumer experience, as what they did, we actually have a bit complicated setup from our backend. As you can see, probably some of you are familiar with these logos, right? You can see those cloud providers here. That's because we also have a legacy system that we have to decommission, but we cannot decommission completely.
Okay, so when we started, we had quite a small team, only one connectivity platform, one product, 8 developers, and only 2 SRE engineers. And Gang, how did you feel at the time?
It was very nice when I joined. There is more like a startup. We call it our own a startup in Electrolux. It's not a tech company, but we work as the same team building the cloud backend. We only focus on the cloud backend. Everything went very well, I would say, like a family, but it didn't last long. Unfortunately, it's after 2 years, whereas we have seen different regions, they started to grow their business, and more consumers started to connect their appliance to our cloud. And also the backend team started to ship more features. We are running into this firefighting mode. As you know, we have different regions, we have different BAs, right, business areas, and then those stakeholders, some of them are not easy to communicate because they're not very technical. So every time when they notice something didn't work from their mobile app, they would come by our table and ask us, is our cloud done today? Then, of course, we understand that not everything is about cloud. You also have your mobile apps running somewhere which might have issue.
Yes, so we had plenty of issue at that moment of time. And the problem might have been related to appliance, cloud infrastructure, or even some service logic. And yes, we communicated a lot with SRE engineers from development side. And we had also, as Gang mentioned, several business areas, and every business area developed their own mobile application. And as a result, we ended up with more than 20 mobile applications. And of course, this significantly increased complexity of the backend and IoT platform. So we have a statistic how the number of developers and services changed during our journey. So we started delivering more and more features, and the number of developers significantly increased, of course. But what about SRE engineers, Gang?
Yeah, we didn't grow, as you can see from the graph. We didn't grow the same rate as a developer. One reason is we actually have a big challenge to hire good SREs. I mean, we tried to hire from EU and APAC, but we couldn't because we are still more like a traditional appliance manufacturing company. So I think for those top SRE engineers, we are not so attractive. But on the other hand, it's also a good learning for us because we have to see how, as a small SRE team, how we can keep supporting our growth without expanding the SRE team. And here you can see this is a SRE team. As you know, we are responsible for the production operation. And here is just 2 example incidents we had before. One is the email sending to us at 4 a.m. from Latin region. They are asking is cloud not working. And another one is actually after we switched to a major cloud provider, everything went smooth during the EU time. I mean, developers are happy. We're happy. It's like a celebration. We finally completed migration. But at midnight, as you can see, we got notice, we got alerts that the CPU usage by our caching system reached 100%. And as a team, we are responsible for the production, and we are doing this kind of on-call duty. So we are trying to resolve this on our own. Of course, tried different ways. I remember I stayed till 4 a.m., couldn't resolve this, and handed over to APAC region. But in the end, the real resolution is when the developers, they come in the morning in the EU time, and finally it got resolved. Maybe, Ramil, you still remember the incident.
I remember this incident, of course, and the troubleshooting overnight. So this particular issue was related to a business logic and how Redis was used from the service side. And we had to wait until the team that was responsible for this service implemented the fix and released it in the morning. So we ask very often SRE engineers in troubleshooting, and this is only one part of communication between SRE engineers and developers. And another part, it's new cloud infrastructure provisioning, and we also ask about it as an SRE team.
Yes, so that's actually a big major work for SRE team as well, to provide the infrastructure that is needed for our product teams. And we used to have this kind of ticketing way, so probably some of you still have today, right? We've asked team, please file us a Jira ticket, we will deliver it, we will put that into your backlog, plan it, and finally deliver it, and then your ticket will be closed. But this didn't work, to be honest, because we are quite small team and we are only based in mostly the EU region, then we cannot scale. And then to resolve this, we've started to use Slack. We created a Slack channel, and then to provide a faster response, of course, response time to our developers, but quickly it becomes more like one of the most popular channel in Slack, and then it becomes more like this probably IT help desk. So not only about production, people also ask questions about different things, like how can I get access to VPN? That's probably not something we should manage. But then that means our workload is still quite high. Actually, today we have to do this kind of rotation that we have dedicated SRE team member each week to handle this Slack messages.
Yes, so the SRE channel is the main way of communication between SRE engineers and developers now. And for me as a developer, since there are so many requests, the request resolution time is always unknown.
So how can we improve this? And then, of course, we understand the automation can improve this. So that's why we started to improve our automation a couple of years ago. A lot of script and then also infrastructure code has been done, which, of course, provides certain values for our team. So still it's through this ticketing way. Like Ramil, you file tickets to our team, and then we will trigger certain automation, and eventually we will deliver and close your ticket. It's just the resolution time will become faster, but this is still not working so well because we are still doing this semi-automated way, and then some team members from our SAT need to trigger something. And then what we can do better? We started to brainstorming, and meanwhile, we don't feel like everything works in the correct way, because we understand developers, they will keep pushing changes in production. And on the other side, as a team, we don't really understand what they are pushing every day, and but we have to do this kind of a production operation, right? So sometimes when they push something during the day, and then during night we get alerts, we couldn't figure out what's going on. And then the question will be, who owns production? Is it the SRE team who should run everything to make sure production is up running 24/7, or is it the product team that they are shipping the features, or is it more like the shared responsibility? So we started to do some brainstorming to figure out how we can improve this. And then we also invited our stakeholders, that's our internal developers, to our conversations. And Ramil, we invited Ramil as well to our interviews. And Ramil, what do you think we should provide for you?
Yes, so from my side as a developer, I would like to have something more flexible, not just a ticketing way, but instead some kind of self-service. and I don't want to be dependent on the SRE team. And also, I would like to see how my resource is provisioned actually, what is the current status, and maybe if there are any issues during this provisioning flow.
Yeah, so then here's the result. We need to provide more this kind of a self-service portal, right, for our developers. And then it was also the year I remember when Backstage was launched by Spotify, open source by Spotify. We started to try it out to see what it offers, and eventually we adopted Backstage and started to build our internal platform. We actually have a product manager who is responsible for the SRE products. And then one day I remember she asked me, are we going to build our own IDP? And then at that time, I was SRE, not a platform engineer. So I was curious, okay, what are you talking about IDP? I had no idea. But later on, we did some learning, and then we understand that actually this is the thing that we should provide to our product teams. And this is actually the major products today that is offered by our team.
Okay, so we can see an example. So all our services are running in Kubernetes. And for example, for developers, it might be quite complicated to create EKS cluster from scratch. So I need to read documentation, go to AWS console, then create resources manually, and then spend hours in troubleshooting. But instead, I just have a simple tool that I can fill a basic configuration like EKS name, select a region, and then click create button. The rest will be provisioned for me automatically, and it is very safe. I shouldn't worry about that something might go wrong with infrastructure. And I also basically need no info knowledge for that.
So yes, what's actually under the hood? I mean, it's actually a bit simple if you look at this diagram. So we talk to our product team to figure out what kind of infrastructure they need for their application. And then we start to learn each infrastructure from AWS. We read the documentation and eventually converting the code to templates into Git. And then this code is just, what we learned and what I would say is a bit opinionated, but we try to follow the best practices, and also we can release new version, and also developers, they can contribute as well if they think something should be improved. And then this template got loaded into our platform, and as a developer, they can go to our platform to browse what is available and pick the infrastructure that they need, and then it will be provisioned. Then this is the features we offer to developers.
Yes, and as a developer, I had a very positive impression about IDP. And the main point was that now I can see the infrastructure and it's not a black box to me anymore. So there is a clear picture what was provisioned and review with resources. And on top of that, I can see here the metrics, some from the observability platform, some metadata, version management, and also audit where I can check who did the changes. And of course, there is some approval flow that allows managers to control this infrastructure provisioning and cost observability. And I strongly believe that cost observability is a very useful feature for developers as well to see how much your infrastructure costs. And developers at least could take it into account before the next release, which we don't do often, to be honest.
And we launched our IDP in March, and then in December we did a rough estimation of what we have achieved, and here is the result. So we went through the number of infrastructure resources got provisioned through IDP, and then did a rough estimation. If we are doing this in the old ticketing way, this may take this number of days, like 200, because every time we have to do planning, we have to do testing, and then finally deliver it. But with the templates, we can ensure the infrastructure got provisioned is more or less identical, and then we don't need to really spend a lot of time to check every single infrastructure, and then also developers, they don't need to wait for anything from our team. They can do it anytime. So, Ramil, do you think infrastructure is everything you need?
Okay, so now I have a tool that can manage my infrastructure, but what about service creation? I would like to have also one button that I can click, and the service and all the related infrastructure might be provisioned for me as well.
Yeah, so then we speak with our developers afterwards. After infrastructure, we figure out what they need during their daily job. For example, we started to introduce more and more, not only infrastructure, but to provide service management. For example, when deploying a microservice, and then how to get the logs into our monitoring system, where to find the metrics, how to connect this microservice with database or third parties. What about the auth part? That is kind of also automated now into this platform. And what about the cost? You shipped a feature yesterday. Can you see the cost today of what has been changed? So this is something that we also introduced, and actually one reason that we started to look into cloud cost because we see a significant increase of our cloud cost after we launched IDP, because developers, they are kind of free to pick what the infrastructure they would like to provision.
Okay, so IDP supports the full SDLC, but it doesn't mean that the whole production responsibility is on my shoulders now as a developer. No, instead we will share this responsibility between developers and SRE engineers. But on top of that, I will have kind of ownership of the product, starting from code and to observability. And we also can consider is kind of a cultural shift. So I have a tool that I can explore, I can use, and be more involved in infrastructure provisioning. And it got me so involved, so I became a platform engineer. So be careful with ADPs.
Yeah, welcome to our team.
Yes, thank you. And yes, so with this tool, we are trying to break a silo, but from the another side. And so developers could have an opportunity to dive deeper into infrastructure.
Yeah, this is exactly what we are aiming, because we want to enable the product teams to be autonomous without depending on our team. Take a quick go through what we have done through this couple of years. We started with a small team, and later on we are building platforms. But those are still internal platforms, right? So we started to think more about what we can do after these internal platforms. Of course, one thing that everyone is talking probably today is about building platform as products, but what does that mean for our team? And we did a rough comparison, and the main difference is probably the mindset, because internal platform is driven by internal requirements. If developer team needs something, then we have to ship fast. So it's more like a reactive. You need it today, okay, we can ship it tomorrow. And then if you need any customization, we can change, we can adapt. But building platform as product, we probably won't go with that approach. Instead, when we get the requirements from our product teams, we will think, how would that requirement fit into our platform? Can we more like a generalized requirement, so we can provide more like a general solution that can be used by also other teams. So instead of this kind of a react way, it's more proactive, and also we have to plan much better, because we have to treat this as a product as our own product. So we have to talk to our internal developers, also the external developers, and then we also have to work with our PMs to do planning. I would say this is our first product. It's actually the cloud cost part of a plugin that we put into Backstage, but we involved this one to open source version called Info Wallet. It's actually very simple. Just what we want is just to get a aggregated view of how much we spend in our different cloud providers. We looked into also buying versus building, and decided to build it because it's not so hard. And also the providers or the vendors that we checked, we couldn't find a good vendor that can meet all our requirements. So this is open sourced, and after we open source it, we got issues from our developers, also a bit more contributions. And we can also check the downloads, so we can see, are we doing good or not. So we are actually very happy with what we have achieved, because we are just a small team. We have our own job, right? We cannot dedicated to the open source one. And then, we started to think more because infrastructure is actually the major product we provide to our internal developers. Can we also put that as another product? And that actually goes into the second product that we are trying to build today, called the Infra Kitchen.
Yes, so we have learned a lot during the development and using IDP. And so IDP was more like UI operations over internal infrastructure scripts. But Infra Kitchen is much more powerful. It's not only UI, but also code-driven tool that developed keeping real developers' need in mind. So for example, with IDP, we were local only with AWS, but in Infra Kitchen, we support multiple cloud providers. And in IDP, we also had quite limited number of predefined templates. But in Infra Kitchen, we provide developers to create their own templates, which is great. And it's also, Infra Kitchen is also code-driven tool because developers like working in code-driven approach. And we also provided such opportunity, and all the changes are managed in the code at the moment.
Yeah, and this is the UI.
Yeah, so there's a small demo of Infra Kitchen. So you can easily create any cloud resources from predefined template, or you can import or create your own template. And from our side, we try to simplify the infrastructure provisioning and make it really fun. So at the moment, we are actively testing this tool internally, and we are planning to open source it soon. So I hope that we can get some feedback from the community or even some contributions.
Yeah, to go back to our history, started with one team building one simple product. Everything was well, and then went into firefighting mode because of the growth. And meanwhile, as a team, we become the bottleneck for all the teams because they are waiting for us to deliver things. Automation helps a lot, but still it's kind of still managed by SRE team. So we are still the bottleneck. And by providing internal platforms, we see a big change. That is because if self-service, we don't need to provide the direct support anymore. Instead, the people can still file issues to us, but we will convert them into more like a feature request for our platforms. And we also see a culture shift because developers, once they started to manage things on their own, they feel more like the owner of everything. And now we are still learning how to build platforms as product. And also we love open source, so we would like to open source what we have. And we started with SRE, as you can see, and we are still the SRE team. Our Slack channel is still called SRE, but today our team name has changed, so we switched to platform engineering, and team name is now called platform services because we offer platform services to our organization. So what exactly does SRE mean then? You may curious, right? So SRE, of course, SRE is a site reliability engineer. I mean, it's just you can say it's a job title or professional career. In our organization, because we couldn't scale the engineers, so we have to find a way to support the business growth using some kind of engineering approach. And I think platform engineering fits this very well. And what happens today is we provide things through platforms, through code to our developers, not through trainings or through one-on-one sessions, because that didn't scale. And once we see some more issues coming, we try to improve our platform. So we put more code, more things there. And for developers, as long as they are using our platforms, they basically get everything for free. That will remove the overhead from their side.
So that's what we learned during our journey. Thank you very much. There's our LinkedIn profile, so let's connect.
And this is also our open source repo. If you're interested, feel free to check it out.